My guest today is Catherine Saxelby, nutritionist, foodologist and author of 9 books and the Food Watch blog. Catherine understands the demands of today's busy world and is here to tell us how women can stay healthy and energetic while living very busy lives. Catherine, welcome.
Oh, thanks, Susie.
Tell us a little about what you do.
Well, I work in lots of areas to do with healthy eating. In 3 main areas, I consult to retailers, growers, manufacturers. I also do a lot of paid writing for magazines and increasingly for blogs and websites. And thirdly, I write my own books, and I'm getting into new products, online products, e-books, which is a big area, I think, of growth for authors everywhere. So I'm looking to repackage some of my material as e-books.
Before we give people some strategies for keeping and maintaining their energy, tell us, quite often nutritionists are delegated to clinics and practices, but you've chosen to share your information in very public ways. Was it a conscious decision to use different media to get your message out?
Yes, it was. Way back in the 90s, I could see the web was taking off and I could see where it was going online. And I had a website, 1994 I think was my first one, way back before anybody sort of knew where things were happening. And then it was just a brochure. It was sort of like an online brochure about yourself and your material. And I'm up to the 4th version of my website now. We keep packaging it and reinventing it. And also I'm loving Twitter, having a great time on Twitter, as I know you are, and about to go into the whole online learning and ebook venture as well. Because I have a lot of content, because I've been writing articles and books for so long, I suddenly find myself drowning in content, and there's different ways to put it together and revamp it and freshen it up and make it new.
When it comes to busy working women, I know that, well, you're one of them, yes. As am I. What do we do wrong when it comes to supporting our bodies in being in their best shape for us to be energetic and do the work we need to do?
Well, I find busy women tend to do a couple of obvious things wrong. Business women particularly tend to drink too much alcohol, tend not to get enough exercise because they're too tired to get enough exercise, they think, and not get enough sleep. And I reckon anybody can cope with anything as long as they're getting good quality sleep. And then finally, often they eat a poor quality diet. Not so much business people travelling, but the workers in offices who work 9 to 5 and go home. They're faced with lots of fast food and takeaway, and it's not always healthy for them. But women in particular, and this is one of my 12 energy drainers, they're often jumping off and on diets, particularly detox diets, and I find fad diets really drain your energy. Some of them are quite low in iron. Anemia is a huge problem for women, and they need to get tested for that. And thirdly, any woman who's pregnant in those early first 3 months is often tired, and it's before you either know you're pregnant or you can't tell the world that you're pregnant either, you're sort of waiting. So for women particularly, there are other biological issues that explain why they're not operating at full speed.
One of my addictions, if you like, is caffeine.
Yes.
And I know for many people that first cup of joe in the morning is really important. How can we use it? I'm not going to suggest that we even rule it out. So how can we use it to our advantage?
Well, I find caffeine is a double-edged sword. Yes, it does overcome tiredness, it helps you focus and concentrate, improves your memory and improves your mood. It does a lot of positive things. So I'm not about to say to people, hey, you never should have caffeine. But if you find you're not sleeping well, upset tummy, or if you say you go away for weekend camping and there's no Joe around and you suddenly get the withdrawal or headaches, you're probably having too much caffeine. So I tend to say to busy working women, use it wisely. Don't have it all the time so you're having 3 and 4 and 5 cups of coffee a day. Save it for when you are tired and you do need a lift. And if it's interfering with your sleep, don't have any caffeine after 4 p.m. I'm someone who can't have caffeine late at night. So I have my last one at 4 p.m. I don't have any more. I have herbal teas or decaf after that. So I think, understand caffeine is positive. It does some great things, but also it comes with a downside, like most things in nutrition. So use it for when you need it. Don't get to the stage where you're hooked on it all the time.
Let's talk about sleep, because I know that certainly I've been guilty of, if I just didn't have to sleep, I'd get all my work done. Or the 3 o'clock in the morning, the brain's going and you're absolutely up and you want to work. And yet not getting the sleep we need has an adverse effect on our productivity. Tell us a little bit about why that is.
Lots of reasons why. I mean, the ideal amount of sleep is 7 to 8 hours, but there's many people who can get by on 5 to 6. I wish I was one of those. I need about 7 hours a night. But it seems there's lots of research showing lack of sleep also interferes with your insulin response in the body and your ability to put on weight. So, and you can see this with shift workers and nurses. When they don't get their full quota of sleep, they tend to put on weight a lot. So a lot of research coming out linking lack of sleep to weight problems and to type 2 diabetes later in life. So I have little routines that I try and follow at night to ensure I get that quality sleep. And I've got lots of this on my website. Like I switch off work about an hour before I want to go to sleep. I put music on, particularly that meditation music, classical music, Mozart or Enya, low volume music. I tend not to watch the news because it gets your mind going. And sometimes I even do a bit of Tai Chi or a little bit of yoga just to stretch and gently wind down. No caffeine for me because caffeine upsets my sleep. And I'll have a chamomile or a sleepy time tea to put me to sleep and try and switch down. I try and go to sleep at the same time and get up at the same time. I know it's hard, but then your body gets into that rhythm. And they're all good tips that I've learnt over the years from the sleep specialists. And I try and help busy women get that same routine. A sleep routine is very, very important.
One of the things we tend to hear about is an afternoon slump. And it's a really easy time to grab something sweet. How should we, and caffeine, how do you suggest we manage our energy levels as they do wane in the afternoon?
And look, it occurs so often, Susie, and it's in so many cultures. I actually think it's biological. It's part of our circadian rhythms. We actually get into a low at around that 3 o'clock time. Now, if you work from home or if you're in an office where you can have a power nap, I think that's the best thing. If you can put your head down for 20 or 30 minutes, you will feel rejuvenated.
I think it should be legislation.
And people like Margaret Thatcher used to do that. They could have these little kips during the day, and that's how they could keep going. So when you read biographies of VIPs and very important people, they actually did use those power naps to their advantage. But hey, not all of us are in offices. If you can't do that, I suggest at lunchtime you get out and have a walk in the fresh air. It really does get the oxygen to the brain and recharge. If you can't, have some protein at lunch and some low GI carbs, some grainy bread, some pasta, some lentils or legumes, chickpeas. And thirdly, plan to have a decent snack in the afternoon. Don't think you can go from lunch to dinner without something to get you through. Maybe a handful of nuts, a yogurt, a fruit salad, some cheese and crackers, something substantial that'll kick you along so you don't have to reach for chocolate and caffeine.
I want to ask you a question, not about nutrition, but about being a practitioner. There are women in many different but similar industries where they are very hands-on in the business and they are the expert, they are the consultant, they are the person that the client is relying on. What should they be considering in order to be able to leverage their time and energy better, as you've done?
Yes, and I've worked a lot on trying to make efficient use of my time. So doing a time management course is always good, and I know there's heaps of those around. And setting up systems in your business has really helped me. I didn't realise, but having templates, pro formas that you've worked on before that you can send out. I find with my website, automating as much of that as possible is also great because everything just happens seamlessly. So when somebody signs up for the Food Watch newsletter, there's an autoresponder that goes out welcoming them and suggesting links and various things they can download and go to. But because I write and I also work as a consultant, I found 3 things have helped me. One is I try and get double use out of whatever research I do. So at the moment, I'm researching a topic on detox diets, for instance. So I might use that for a post on my website. I might write about it in an article that I'm writing, and I might use it for information for a client. So I've done the original research. There are 3 different end uses, but the raw research material that I did is the one single piece. So I'm trying to find 3 outlets for one work.
I think that's a great model because for some of us what we do evaporates at that moment unless you capture it in some way and reuse it as you're doing.
And while you're in the moment, you're up to date, you know all the facts and figures like that, so make use of it. And I find because I'm in an information industry, that's a great way to make use of all the knowledge. And that was a big realisation for me too, that I'm really not in the nutrition business. I'm in the information business because I'm a communicator. I'm either talking or writing about various issues to do with healthy eating. So being in an information industry changes the way you look at it. The other thing I've done is I've spent a lot of time defining my brand, and that was hard for me because people used to say to me, Catherine, come and give us a talk about nutrition. And I'd say to them, well, what aspect of nutrition? It's how long is a piece of string? Do you want nutrition for families, for sports people, for busy working women? And I've honed down onto that busy working women market, which resonates with me. I'm passionate about it myself. But it also is a different niche to, say, feeding babies and children, or to aged parents that might need some nutrition advice. So finding your market is good. And the third thing I've done is networking. And I know I've had a lot of help from the Australian Business Women's Network on finding mentors, finding coaches, finding lots of information relating to my business needs.
Thank you so much for joining us, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Thank you.